Welcome back. In this class we are discussing the semiconductor photocatalysis. All of you know that the material can be classified into three categories based on the ability to pass the electricity. They are conductor, semiconductor and insulator. Conductor, semiconductor, third one insulator. How they are classified? Because of the ability to pass the electricity. For example, conductor is a material which can pass the electricity, insulator which cannot able to pass the electricity, and semiconductor, if you give some doping or some heating, they can able to pass the electricity. Now, how this classification is came? This classification is came based on the energy gap between the valence band and the conduction band. For example, in the case of conductor, the gap between the valence band and conduction band will be very low. Semiconductor, it will be medium, and the insulator, it will not be very low, it will be very large. So, electron cannot pass from valence band to the conduction band in the case of insulator. And semiconductor, if you put some energy, it can pass, it can eject electron from the valence band to the conduction band. And conductor, there is no much difference between the valence band and the conduction band. So, the electron can easily flow from the valence band to the conduction band. Now, in this class we are discussing a special class of nanomaterial, which is the semiconducting nanomaterials. And the importance of the semiconducting nanomaterials are, it has a very wide variety of application. If you look at the picture in the computer, you can see a large number of application of the semiconductor nanomaterial. For example, it can be used as an antibacterial coating on the tile surface. It can be used to make the solar cell, which will produce the electricity from the free available sunlight. It can be used to make the electrochromic display device. It can be used as an antibacterial coating, and all these applications can be combined to make a future home as shown in the picture. So, all the electrical energy needed for the home is met by the solar cell, which is laid on the rooftop of this house. And we can make the antibacterial tiles inside the home, so that will be antibacterial as well as the self cleaning home. So, this type of semiconducting nanomaterial have very wide variety of technological applications. So, one such application we are going to discuss in this section. So, that is the semiconductor photocatalysis. Now, semiconductor I already discussed. Semiconductor which will pass the electricity if you put some amount of energy. So, for a semiconductor, it has a valence band and a conduction band. And for example, if you take the structure of the semiconductor, this will be the valence band and this will be the conduction band. And the energy difference between this valence band and conduction band is known as the band gap energy. Band gap energy. So, the term here is the semiconductor. I think you understand what is meant by the semiconductor photocatalysis. Now, catalysis, you know, catalysis is a chemical process which is happening in presence of a catalyst. Now, what is catalyst? Catalyst is a chemical substance which will increase the rate of the reaction without undergoing any changes, meaning that after the reaction you can take the catalyst back. There will not be any chemical reaction happen to the catalyst, but the rate of the reaction, the speed of the chemical reaction is already increased by the help of the catalyst. So, photocatalysis means the catalysis reaction taking in presence of a photon, in presence of light. So, altogether it is semiconductor photocatalysis, catalysis reaction happening in presence of over a semiconductor in presence of light, that is the semiconductor photocatalysis, or otherwise you can define the semiconductor photocatalysis, the process in which the acceleration of a reaction occurs when a material, usually a semiconductor, interact with light of sufficient energy to produce the reactive oxidizing species, which can lead to the photocatalytic transformation of pollutants. Now, you look at the picture which is showing the band structure of a semiconductor. Now, we will explain how this photocatalysis will happen, or I can explain the photocatalytic mechanisms. As I told you, the semiconductor will contains a valence band and a conduction band, and the energy difference between the valence band and the conduction band is known as the band gap energy. So, this energy we can equate by an equation, E is equal to h nu. So, E is the band gap energy and h is the Planck's constant, and nu you can write is h c by lambda, where c is the velocity of light and lambda is the wavelength. Now, for a particular semiconductor, this band gap energy is fixed. For example, if you take a TiO2, a semiconductor, well known semiconductor, it will have 3.2 electron volt as the band gap energy. So, it is 3.2 electron volt. We can convert that electron volt into joule by multiplying with 1.9 into 10 raised to 19, and h is the Planck's constant, 6.625 into 10 raised to 34 joule second, and c is 3 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second, velocity of light, and lambda we can calculate. So, if you do the calculation, it will approximately comes as the 385 nanometer. All these are fixed quantity. The band gap energy for a particular semiconductor, it is fixed 3.2 electron volt, h is Planck's constant, it is fixed, c velocity of light is also fixed. Only the variable is the lambda. You can calculate that lambda. If you calculate the lambda for a particular semiconductor TiO2 having 3.2 electron volt, it will comes under 385 nanometer. Now, you look at the picture. If you put an energy of a light having wavelength 385 nanometer on a semiconducting TiO2, what happens is it will eject an electron from the valence band to the conduction band. So, here full of electron will be there. Valence band means it is containing full of electron. So, if you look at the picture, the valence band is represented by full of electron and the conduction band is empty. So, if you put an energy of light having wavelength 385 nanometer, from the valence band, electron will be ejected to the conduction point. So, what happens is a hole will be generated here, positive charge, because one electron is lost from here. So, that will go to the conduction band. So, here you have a hole and here you have a free electron. Now, what happens is this hole can reduce the water to make it as hydroxyl radical as shown in the picture. This hole can oxidize. This hole can oxidize the water to form the hydroxyl radical as shown in the picture, and this free electron can add to oxygen, meaning that it is reduced, addition of electron, oxygen is reduced to form the superoxide radicals. Now, if you make a coating of this titanium dioxide on the tile surface, on the glass or in the glass surface, this type of reaction will happen if you put an energy of wavelength 385 nanometer, and this 385 nanometer comes in the range of UV region, because we know that in the electromagnetic spectrum 200 nanometer to 400 nanometer is known as the UV region, and 400 nanometer to 800 nanometer is known as the visible region. UV region and visible region. So this 385 nanometer comes in between 200 and 400 nanometer. So if you put a UV light on the semiconductor coating that can be made upon the tile surface or the glass surface, what happens? Electron will ejected from the valence band to the conduction band. So you have a hole in the valence band and you have a electron in the conduction band. Now this hole can oxidize the water present, or suppose you are pouring some water on the glass, or it can take the water present in the atmosphere to generate a hydroxyl radical, and also the free electron is there in the conduction band. This free electron can reduce the oxygen, which may be appear as a dissolved oxygen in the water, or it can take the oxygen from the atmosphere to make it as a superoxide radical. So two radicals are formed, the hydroxyl radical as well as the superoxide radicals. So these radicals are formed as a result of the oxidation reduction reaction, and these radicals are highly reactive and it can attack on the fungi, cell wall of the fungi or algae present on the tile surface. So it will not allow to grow the algae or fungi present on the tile surface. Suppose you are trying to make an antibacterial coating, so this type of reaction will happen and it will not allow to grow the algae or fungi on the surface. Or suppose you are taking this type of semiconducting nanomaterial in a beaker and putting some pollutant like or colored organic compound, for example methylene blue, rhodamine, etc. you take in a beaker and put some semiconducting nanomaterial like TiO2, and you just take that solution plus the nanomaterial into a UV chamber and treat it for 10 to 15 minutes. Then the UV light falls upon the semiconducting oxide. This reaction will happen, positive hole will electron will be ejected from the valence band to the conduction band, and hole and electron will be created. So that will generate the superoxide radical as well as the hydroxyl radicals. So this will undergo the oxidation reduction reaction, and finally it will convert that organic dye into carbon dioxide and water. So meaning that it can be used as for the purification of water. Now the process involved this photocatalysis are: the first one, the whole electron pairs are generated as a result of light irradiation, meaning that whole electron will be ejected from valence band to the conduction band. That is the first process involved in the photocatalysis. Whole electron pairs are generated as a result of light irradiation. Second one, the photo generated holes in the valence band diffuses to the TiO2 surface and react with the adsorbed water molecule, forming hydroxyl radical. Third one, the photo generated holes and the hydroxyl radical oxidize the nearby organic molecule and finally converting into carbon dioxide and water. Fourth one, the electrons in the conduction band typically participate in the reduction process and forming a superoxide anions. So this hydroxyl radical as well as the superoxide radical are highly reactive radical, and they can degrade any organic pollutant or any algae or fungi present on the surface and finally converting into carbon dioxide and water. Now if you look at the picture, these are the reaction happening TiO2 plus H nu giving a hole plus an electron, and this hole electron can also be combined to form the energy, and the another reaction is the hole can oxidize the water to hydroxyl radical, and this hydroxyl radical can react with the pollutant converting into water and carbon dioxide. Likewise, the oxygen can react with the free electron in the conduction band to generate superoxide radical. This superoxide radical can again react with the H plus from the water to form a peroxide radical. This peroxide radical can again combine with to form H2O2 plus and O2, and another reaction is the superoxide radical of oxygen is reacting with the pollutant to form carbon dioxide and water. So, many chemical reactions are happening, and the final result of the chemical reaction is there is happening the oxidation and reduction reaction, and finally pollutant, if it is an organic moiety, if it is an organic dye, or it is an algae or fungi, whatever the pollutant present in the medium is finally converting into carbon dioxide and water. And the features of this type of photocatalyst should be, it should be chemically and biologically inert, and it should be a stable one, it should be easy to produce and to use, and fourth one, efficiently activated by light. It's able to efficiently catalyze reactions, and it should be an inexpensive one, and finally it should be implemented without any risk for the environment as well as the human being. Now here one problem is, as I told you, when we excite the electron from the valence band and conduction band, the normal TiO2 have 3.2 electron volt. That comes under the 385 nanometer. 385 nanometer means it is in the UV region, right? UV region in the electromagnetic spectrum. If you look at the picture in the left side, you can see that the band gap will be 3.2 electron volt of the normal TiO2 semiconductor. So, we should use a UV light to excite the electron from the valence band to the conduction band, and they can behave differently. They can undergo oxidation reduction reaction and finally converted the pollutant into carbon dioxide and water. But when we discuss some practical application as an antibacterial coating or to degrade a pollutant, we cannot always use the UV light, because UV light is harmful to our body. It will damage our eye and skin, etc. So, the solution for this problem is we have to convert the activity of the TiO2 from UV light to the visible light, because visible light is free and it is not at all harmful to our body. So, you can use the visible light. So, how we will change the activity of the TiO2 from UV light to the visible light? So, in order to change that, we have to increase the wavelength here, because we got the wavelength for 3.2 electron volt as 385 nanometer. So, if you reduce the band gap, the lambda will increase, because the energy and lambda are inversely proportional here. So, when the energy is reducing, the lambda will increase. So, if you reduce the band gap 3.2 electron volt to 3 electron volt, this wavelength will comes above 400 nanometer. So, then that will be in the visible region. So, we can use for the practical applications. For that change the activity from UV region to visible region, we will there are many number of solutions for that. We the major solution is to reduce the band gap. How we can reduce the band gap? We have three options are there. You can dope a metal ion into the TiO2 like a p block elements, or you can take a transition metal elements, you can take a rare earth metal ions, P block element may be silica, alumina, and transition metal may be lanthanum, neodymium, tantalum, etc. That is one process, so that you can reduce the band gap and you can change the activity from UV region to visible region. And second one, you can dope with non-metal ions such as nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus, etc. That will also reduce the band gap and give the activity in the UV region. And third one, you can use co-doping, metal as well as non-metal, to change the band gap, so that you will get the activity in the visible region. Now, what is the practical application of this type of semiconductor photocatalysis? You just look at the picture here. When you go a dye industry, dye is used to make the color for our dress materials. So, large number of dyes are using in the textile industry. So, after 4 or 5 times dyeing process, this dye cannot be further used. So, what they will do is they will took that dye solution directly into the aquatic system. For example, they will directly throw the large quantity of dye into the nearby river, pond, etc. So, the aquatic organism living in the ponds or the river cannot live much. It is very harmful to the aquatic organism when dye comes into that solutions. They will die. So, if you properly treat that dyed water or pollutant water, and that make it make it for the purification, then that water, purified water, can be used for the agriculture purpose. Now, if you treat with the pollutant water with the nanomaterial, this type of activity will happen. It will degrade the dye into carbon dioxide and water, and you will get pure water as a result of this nanomaterial applications. For example, if you look at the representative example here in the picture, we took 2 bottles, glass bottles, where the first bottle is uncoated with the any semiconducting oxide, and second bottle on the right side we coated with the TiO2. So, first one is uncoated and second one is TiO2 coated, and we took the same amount of blue colored organic dye in both the bottles and take that both the bottles into the sunlight and kept it for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, the uncoated bottle, the dye in the uncoated bottle remain as such, whereas the TiO2 coated bottle, the TiO2 plus light happened to the reaction of the oxidation reduction reaction, and finally converted that organic dye into carbon dioxide and water, and we got the purified water from the polluted water. That means the polluted water is converted into the purified water. So, this type of technology we can use for the purification of water. And in this picture you can see some of other practical application of this TiO2 semiconducting photocatalysis. Left side you can see the 2 petri dish, one is coated, one is non-coated, and then we cultured some bacteria in that petri dish, but in the uncoated petri dish there is a growth of bacterial colony, you can see it, and the right side petri dish, it is TiO2 coated, so it doesn't allow any growth of bacteria there. So, it can be used as an antibacterial coating. And we can see another practical application which where the TiO2 is coated on a tile surface. The A represent the tile which is coated with the semiconducting oxide, titanium dioxide, and B is non-coated, and it is kept for the weathering studies in the outside. And after 12 months, the non-coated tile shows the growth of fungi, which is showed as a micrographic image on the right side, and in the left side TiO2 coated tile doesn't allow the growth of antibacterial. So, this type of semiconducting coating can be used as a antibacterial coating, and it can be used for the purification of water. So, as a conclusion, this type of semiconducting nanomaterial can have a large number of practical application. It can be used as a antibacterial coating. It can be used to purify the water from the polluted water, and it can be used as also for some other applications, such as it can be made as a super hydrophilic coating. It can be, this TiO2 nanomaterial can be used as electrochromic display device, etc. So, other application of this semiconductor nanomaterial we will discuss in the next class.